Kathy, you need to buy the ingredients and cook dinner for 30 people, then clean the house. Once you're done, you can rest. If my husband asks for help, do whatever he requests. My mother-in-law looked so proud when she was giving me orders, but I had no reason to obey her anymore. It's impossible. I can't do it all by myself, I protested. Don't tell me you can't. Just get on with it, my mother-in-law snapped. No, I won't do it. I'm not going to be treated like that, I replied firmly. My mother-in-law's eyes got wider as she gave me an angry look. Don't you dare talk back to me. Just do as I say. Her face turned red and she looked furious. Okay, I'll quit being a wife then, I calmly told her. Huh? What? She exclaimed in exasperation. My name is Kathy, a 28-year-old housewife. I married my husband, Elliot, 2 years ago. When we got married, I became a full-time housewife. We were happily married and spending our days together. But recently, we have been experiencing some tension. My mother-in-law, with whom I had a good relationship, suddenly changed her attitude. She used to be very kind to me, but now, as if she is a different person, she has become mean to me. It seems like she has suddenly changed. When I used to visit my in-laws, she used to say, "Welcome, Kathy. Take a good rest here." But lately, she would say things like, "You're late. Now help me with the housework." She used to insist that I should wait for a baby to come naturally. But now she would ask me, "Will I get to see my grandchildren? Aren't you the one who has a problem?" I was confused by the sudden change in my mother-in-law's attitude, and my mother-in-law began to take advantage of me. She abuses me and makes me do all the things for her. "Kathy, I want you to come over here right now," she would command on the phone. "But I just saw my husband off to work," I'd try to reason. "Then it's perfect. I wouldn't call you before Elliot leaves for work. It's a wife's duty to make sure her husband goes to work without any stress. And once you see him off, it's your duty to work for your mother-in-law," she'd insist. "Oh no," I would mutter under my breath, frustrated. "If you understand that, come here as soon as you can," she would say before hanging up. My mother-in-law calls me like this every morning. If I tried to ignore her, she would call me again and again until I came to her house. I have to go there because it drives me crazy. And if I go there, she would bully me non-stop. They make me work like a slave. I found myself having to go there on the weekends too. I was forced to do housework at my parents-in-law's house 7 days a week. "Come and visit us over the weekend," she would write to my husband and invite us over. Then she'd put pressure on me secretly, so I would do the housework. Since she doesn't talk to me like in front of my husband is unaware that I am being treated this way. And my father-in-law travels a lot and is often not home even on weekends. Therefore, my mother-in-law is on her own at the house. My parents-in-law's family consists of my parents-in-law and their 3 sons. My husband is the second son, and his brothers are also married. My older brother-in-law and his wife previously lived with my parents-in-law. They moved out of the home when they were transferred to a different region for work. By the way, my mother-in-law was, and still is, very kind to my younger brother-in-law's wife. On some weekends, my brother-in-law and his wife also come to visit. My mother-in-law shows my younger brother-in-law's wife the same kind expressions and words that she used to have towards me before. Why on earth did she start harassing me like this? Did I do something wrong to offend my mother-in-law? What's the difference between me and my younger brother-in-law's wife? I became more and more frustrated and couldn't take it anymore, so I talked to my husband about it. "Hey, your mother has been quite mean to me lately," I told Elliot. But my husband's reaction was cold. "What? You got a problem with her? Give me a break. I don't want any problems." He dismissed me. But I tried to continue. "Basically, those things happen because you expect too much from the other person. You and my mother are strangers, so you shouldn't expect anything from her," he added. His comments seemed quite off. It also just seemed that he wanted to get away without even trying to understand it, and I felt disappointed. After his words, I decided that there was no point in expecting support from my husband because he had become a stranger too. Then it was time for New Year's. As usual, a large number of relatives were gathering at my parents-in-law's house. My mother-in-law had been persistent in trying to talk me into coming over. "You should come, it's New Year's, family matters," she would nag. but I kept refusing, saying that I was busy with family matters during the New Year's holiday. I had been pretty obedient to my mother-in-law until then, but suddenly I was not listening to her anymore, so she became increasingly frustrated. On the day of the family gathering, my mother-in-law had prepared a terrible punishment for me. This was the third time I've attended the event at my in-laws' house. The first time was shortly after I married my husband, so I was helping my older brother-in-law's wife. Last year, I was cleaning my parents-in-law's house and buying groceries. But this year, my mother-in-law asked me to do all the preparations for the family gathering. I need you to buy the ingredients for dinner for 30 people, cook, and then clean the house. Once you're done, you can rest, Kathy. If my husband asks you to do something, you can help him, she admonished me. My mother-in-law looked so proud when she said that, but I had no reason to obey her anymore. It's impossible. I can't do it all by myself, I protested again. Don't tell me you can't. Just get on with it, she barked back. No, I won't do it. I'm not going to be treated like that. I stood my ground. My mother-in-law's eyes grew wider as she gave me an angry look. Don't you dare talk back to me. Just do as I say, she continued angrily. Her face turned red and she looked furious. I calmly told her, okay, I'll quit being a wife then. My mother-in-law's eyes widened and she snapped, what are you talking about? I'm going to divorce Elliot and quit being his wife, I replied firmly. You think you're allowed to do such a selfish thing? I won't allow it, she shouted. I don't need your permission, I said, standing my ground. Divorce is between husband and wife. Stop being such a smartass, she yelled. You really piss me off. I smirked and replied, what a coincidence. I'm also annoyed by every single word you say. What the hell? She barked, glaring at me. Then, my younger brother-in-law's wife, who was standing next to me, chimed in. If you quit, Kathy, I'll quit being a wife too. My mother-in-law spun around, shocked. Huh? Oh, you're quitting too? Because if this continues at this rate, I'll be the next one to be bullied, right? She explained and added, I've got to get out of here before it's too late. I smiled, thinking, that's my sister-in-law, she's so smart. Why do you both keep talking nonsense? I won't let you get away with it, my mother-in-law screamed in frustration. As we argued, the rest of the family started gathering around. My father-in-law and brothers-in-law, including my husband Elliot, had been at the house since early morning to help prepare for the event. They came over to see what the commotion was about. What are you making a fuss about? My father-in-law asked, his voice calm but curious. Mother-in-law has been picking on me, and I can't take it anymore, I replied. So as of today, I'm quitting my role as a wife, and I'm going to run away before I become a target of her bullying, I concluded. My father-in-law frowned and turned to my mother-in-law. What did you say? He asked, clearly upset. You broke your promise, he accused. No, my mother-in-law muttered, looking guilty. What do you mean, a promise? I asked, confused. My father-in-law sighed, addressing the family. She swore she wouldn't bully her daughters-in-law again, but here we are. Dad, my husband Elliot interjected, unsure of what was happening. I'm sorry, Kathy, my father-in-law said to me. The reason why my eldest son and his wife left the house wasn't because they were transferred to another region. It's because your mother-in-law was mentally torturing her. She was bullying her. I nodded, realizing the truth. I see. So that's why they didn't come today, and why they haven't shown up to any other events at my parents-in-law's house. My father-in-law continued, when my oldest son found out that his wife was being bullied, he got angry and left with her. I scolded your mother-in-law too. She said, I'm so sorry. Please give me another chance. She promised me she would never bully her daughters-in-law again, and asked me to keep quiet about it, he concluded. Really? I asked, surprised by the revelation. I'm sorry for not telling you earlier, he said softly. I just didn't think she'd do it again. No, it's not your fault, Father, I reassured him. Kathy, he said, you should go home today with Elliot. I'll have her do all the preparations for this gathering by herself. My mother-in-law's eyes widened in panic. Oh no, that's impossible, she cried. Okay, my father-in-law said, his voice steely. Then you tried to force Kathy to do something impossible, didn't you? Well, my mother-in-law tried to say, but my father-in-law continued. If you'd been nicer to your daughters-in-law, none of this would have happened, he said, pointing a finger at her. It's all your fault. Turning to me, he added, I'll leave it to you to decide what to do from now on, Kathy. You can decide what you want to do. Thank you very much, I said, feeling a bit of relief. Then my husband Elliot, who had been silent for a while, finally spoke up, his voice trembling. Kathy, you're not going to tell me you're divorcing me, are you? I can't do this with you anymore, Elliot, I said, my voice firm but calm. You didn't listen to me at all when I asked you for help about your mother. Well, but, he began to stammer, we can just cut ties with my mother, so can we continue to live as a married couple? He pleaded. I shook my head, disappointed. I'm already disappointed in you. I'm sure that if anything happens in the future, you won't think about me. You'll just make decisions based on your ego. I don't want to stay married to someone like that. I want a divorce, I replied coldly. Oh no, he added quietly, realizing the gravity of the situation. After that, I went home alone, packed my things, and moved to my parents' house. My younger brother-in-law, crazy about his wife, told her he'd rather leave his parents' house than be dumped by her. They left together. My mother-in-law really had to prepare for the gathering by herself. She struggled as she cooked all the food for the large number of people who were attending. By the way, I later heard that my father-in-law confronted her with divorce papers that same day. He had been determined to divorce her if she broke her promise. He was quite smart, making her cook for the gathering, even though he had already planned to divorce her. Now that my mother-in-law is gone, my older brother-in-law and his wife can return to the house without worries. They've just had a baby, and my father-in-law is thrilled to see his grandchild. As for me, I managed to get a divorce from my husband. He was reluctant to sign the divorce papers until the very end, but as soon as I mentioned the word lawyer, he finally signed. By the way, my ex-husband was the only one among the three brothers who didn't care about his wife, which eventually caused a rift between his father and brothers. Both of his brothers respect their wives' opinions, so their wives said they didn't trust my ex-husband and didn't want to see him anymore. Now my ex-husband doesn't feel comfortable going back to his parents' house. He really deserves it. I, on the other hand, got a new job and started working hard. I'm enjoying my new job, and living alone is comfortable and fulfilling. I also recently got a younger boyfriend, so I'm trying to enjoy my love life and work as much as I can.